Verizon just released its Q3 earnings, and if you're an investor, you need to listen up. We're going to cut through all the noise and the corporate speak to give you the one thing that really matters, the verdict. Is this a buy, a hold, or a problem? Let's get right into it.
So here's the whole story in a nutshell. On the surface, the finances look great. We're talking solid profits, tons of cash flow. And their broadband division, it's absolutely crushing it. But, and believe me, this is a huge but, their core business is bleeding. They are losing the very customers that built the company, consumer phone subscribers. The fix? A brand new CEO who's promising to shake things up big time. That's the tension, that's the story we're diving into.
Okay, so let's start with the good news, the stuff that makes for great headlines. When you look at Verizon from a 30,000-foot view, the financial picture looks pretty darn rosy.
First up, revenue. They pulled in $33.8 billion. Now, a 1.5% jump might not sound like much, but for a giant like Verizon in a hyper-competitive market, any growth is a good sign. It shows they're holding their ground.
But here's where it gets really interesting for us as investors. Profitability. Earnings per share shot up to $1.17. That's a huge leap from just 78 cents this time last year. Remember, it's not just about what a company makes, it's about what's left over for shareholders. And a jump like this, that's a massive green flag.
And this number, well, this number is all about the health of the business itself. We're talking $15.8 billion in free cash flow so far this year. Why do we care so much? Because this is the cash that pays for your dividends. It's what they use to pay down debt and invest in the future. Cash is king, and right now Verizon has a whole lot of it.
Okay, so let's put it all together. How did they get that incredible 48% pop in net income? Well, look at that second line. Their operating expenses are down over 6%. So this wasn't just about making a little more money. This was about becoming a much more efficient, leaner company. They spent less to make more. That's a powerful combination. But here's the thing. Those big, flashy, consolidated numbers, they can be a little deceiving. They hide what's really going on inside the company. You have to pop the hood and look at the engine itself. And when you do that, a completely different story starts to unfold.
And boom, here it is. This is the heart of the entire issue. The company actually lost 7,000 of its most valuable consumer phone customers. These are the people on monthly contracts, the absolute bread and butter of their business. Meanwhile, the business side did great, adding 51,000. You see the problem? It's a tale of two Verizons. The consumer ship is taking on water, while the business side is full steam ahead. And this chart just drives that point home. It's impossible to ignore. That little red bar for the consumer side dipping below zero right next to that big healthy blue bar for the business side. This imbalance right here, this is the #1 challenge for Verizon's management. They simply cannot afford to keep losing their core customers.
But wait, it's not all bad news under the hood. There's a powerful bright spot, a different growth engine that is absolutely firing on all cylinders, broadband. Verizon added over 300,000 new broadband customers. This is huge because it shows the company isn't just a one-trick pony. They have another major way to grow, completely outside of the mobile phone wars.
So, you've got this major problem with your core customers. What do? Well, in this case, you bring in a new leader. A new CEO, Dan Schulman, is now running the show, and he's sending a very clear message. The old way of doing things is over. A major change is coming.
You gotta pay attention when a new CEO gets on his first earnings call and says something like this. These will not be incremental changes. He's not talking about small tweaks. He's signaling a complete top-to-bottom overhaul of the entire company. Culture, costs, you name it. He's telling investors, I see the problem and we're going for radical surgery, not a Band-Aid.
And look, this isn't just talk. They're putting their money where their mouth is by sticking to their original financial targets for the entire year. By reaffirming these strong numbers for revenue, profit, and cash flow, they're sending a signal of pure confidence. They believe they can pull off this massive transformation and still deliver the financial results they promised. That takes guts.
So let's bring it all home. Let's get to the bottom line. As an investor, what are you supposed to do with all this? How do you weigh the good against the bad? What's the real takeaway here?
This scorecard really lays it all out. On the pro side, you have fantastic profits, tons of cash, a booming broadband business, and a new CEO who's ready to make bold moves. That's a pretty strong case for being optimistic. But then you look at the con side. The core consumer business is shrinking, customer churn is ticking up, and even the business segment, despite adding customers, saw its revenue drop. Those are some serious warning signs you just can't ignore.
And that brings us to the final question. The CEO himself called this a critical inflection point. And he's absolutely right. The company has the money and the broadband growth to succeed. But the billion-dollar question that will define Verizon's future is this. Can the new guy's bold plan actually work? Can he stop the bleeding, win back those core customers, and turn this ship around? That, right there, is what every single investor is waiting to find out.